TV voice of Cincinnati Reds, and you're up for Late Night Reds Talk.
Hey, Nick Kirby here. Welcome into a very special edition of Late Night Reds Talk, part of the Believe Network, presented as always by our friends at Bet Online. We have got a very special episode here for you as we have Joe Katuska, the Reds amateur scouting director. He was kind enough to join myself and Carlos Guevara for a few minutes to talk about the 2022 draft for the Reds. Is an interview that you are definitely not going to want to miss. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, wanted to say a quick word about our sponsor, Bet Online. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with the first of market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and future. Head on over to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join and make your first deposit. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that is BLEAV 50, to receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online is where the game starts. And now to our interview with Reds amateur scouting director Joe Katuska. All right, joined now by Joe Katuska. Joe, tell us about how you came to the Reds and what all you've done with the franchise over, I believe, the 17 years that you've been with the Reds.
Yeah, so I figured out pretty early on in college that no one was ever going to pay me to play, but I wanted to stay in the game somehow. I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to start with the Reds as an intern in 2005, just as a summer intern. That got extended. I came back in 06 as a full season intern and was hired as a baseball ops assistant at the end of the 06 season. Then I spent 1 year in the front office working there. And in the fall of 07 was given an opportunity to scout an area, which I took at that point. Then it was 8 years as an area scout, 3 as the Midwest cross-checker, 3 as assistant scouting director and national cross-checker. And then just this past September, got elevated to the scouting director position.
All right, before we get into this year's draft, who are some players in the organization that either you scouted or were part of drafting that you're really pleased with kind of their development so far?
Well, there are a bunch of them. Obviously, we're pretty proud of the guys we've gotten into the system and the job that development's done with them since we drafted and signed those players. As an area scout, I was fortunate enough to sign 4 players that made it to the major league level. All of them were senior right-handed pitchers that were pretty low bonus amounts. Nick Christiani, Drew Hayes, Josh Smith, and Daniel Wright were the 4 that I was the area scout for. So those are probably the ones that I'm proudest of. They're not the names that really ring out for the fans of the franchise, but just knowing the work that goes in as an area scout, identifying a player and having the opportunity to sign him. That's really what you do it for.
Nice. So what was the organization's game plan coming into this year's draft? Or was there how does that work?
We're always just trying to add impact to the organization. We start up the middle players and starting pitchers is what we're looking for. Obviously, we went with 2 high school hitters first that aren't up the middle players. So it sounds funny to say it that way. We've really been prioritizing hit tools and pitchability in adding players to the system. Those are the guys that we think we can develop the best and have the best opportunity to impact the big league team.
All right, you kind of just beat me to the next question. So the philosophy within the organization really seems to be bringing in more athletic premium position players. Is that a concentrated effort to bring in more center field, shortstop types that you feel like you can move around?
It is. We think that starting at the middle of the diamond is where you find the biggest impact. And those players have a significantly larger margin for error. They can move off of the middle of the field if the bat's going to play at a corner. It's a lot harder to move up the defensive spectrum than it is down it.
Very nice. So if you can take us through, like, what's draft day like? Like leading up to draft night. What's the mood? What's the vibe? Do y'all sit on the edge of your chair seeing who's taken, or do you kind of have an idea as before picks are actually taken?
It's one of the longest days of the year. It's the culmination of a couple of years' effort that goes into each draft class. So we usually try to get into the office early and then have a longer break in the middle of the day because it's incredibly long up until when the draft starts, and it feels like nothing's actually happening. You've done so much work to that point, and it's almost there when you can make the picks and have all of that work pay off. But it really drags. And then the draft actually starts, and it's nerve-wracking. You're really hoping that the players you're targeting get to your picks and you have an opportunity to draft those guys. But yeah, there are a lot of conversations that go into it. We do have an idea of who teams in front of us like, but until they actually make draft picks, we don't know anything for sure.
So Cam Collier was listed on most draft rankings in the top 10. In fact, The Athletic had him as high as 2. Did you think there was any chance coming into draft night that he'd be available at 18? And if not, why do you think he fell to the Reds?
We thought he probably was going to be gone well before we picked. But like I said, you never know how the draft is actually going to play out. I think Cam just had tremendous leverage in the situation as a 17-and-a-half-year-old. If he had gone on to college, he would have been, a 19-and-a-half-year-old coming out of Louisville. But obviously we got the opportunity to go get him.
That's awesome. So what about Cam made you want to go out there and get him as soon as that pick before him was taken? I'm sure y'all knew instantly y'all were taking him, right?
Yeah, it was exciting in the room.
High fives going all around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lots of celebration there. We identified Cam a while ago. We've seen him play since I think his freshman year in high school. It's always been an extremely advanced hit tool. What he did this year, going out, reclassifying, he should be a 2023 high school player, and instead he went to one of the best junior colleges in the country to really compete and show who he is. And then following that up with going up to the Cape League, where a lot of the players are 3-4 years older than him and holding his own there. We're really impressed with the hit tool. He's a quality third baseman. He's a good athlete. There's a lot of projection to his overall game, but it really starts with the bat for Cam, and that's what our biggest interest was.
Yeah, to follow up on that real quick, like, can you explain to folks real quick how difficult and how impressive it is for a 17-year-old to go play with elite college level players in the Cape Cod League?
He was the youngest player in the history of the Cape. The only player that we have seen take the path that he took, going to a junior college as early as he did so he could expedite his pro career, is Bryce Harper. That's the sort of talent level that it takes to compete at that level. And we're certainly not trying to put expectations like that on Cam. Although if you talk to Cam, his expectations are sky high for what he believes he can do.
So you were just able to sign Cam. How much of a relief is that for you guys? Seen situations in the past like Kumar Rocker. How much was a relief to just get that first pick signed?
Tremendous, and not just the first pick, but it's a nerve-wracking process. You get to draft the player, but they're obviously not in the boat until they've signed the contract. So going through the whole physical process, getting the players out to Arizona and signing them, it takes a lot of coordinated effort from the medical staff, from player development, from the amateur side. So a lot of people have a hand in making sure that those players actually get signed. But until it's done, it's not done, and things can go sideways, as we've seen. So it's a definite relief to know that he's signed and he's a Red now.
All right, next guy I want to talk about is Sal Stewart. So talk to us a little bit about him and how maybe JBP is a factor, or is that even a factor on where he might play some of his home games or most of his home games?
It might be a benefit, but it's not something that we really take into consideration when making the pick. There's so much time in between, especially for a high school player, when we draft them and when we could reasonably expect them to get to the big league level, that we're just trying to go get the best players we can at each spot. Sal has a tremendous bat and power. He's a good athlete, has a basketball background. strong-bodied kid that we think is going to be able to remain at third base. Another guy that we really targeted for the combination of hit and power.
So Sal Stewart was the comp pick for the Reds for losing Nick Castellanos. It sounds like, based on some recent reports, that the comp pick is going to stay around. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think that's something that's really valuable for a small market franchise like the Reds?
I think those picks are very important for us. We've been able to leverage those the past couple of years when we have had them into adding more players from the top of the draft into our pool on the player development side. So our ability to get those picks has been really beneficial for our whole process.
Nice. So third pick this year was the catcher, Logan Tanner. Tell us a little bit about him.
So Logan has a nice, well-rounded game. Tremendous defensive catcher with a plus throwing arm. Has good power at the plate and the ability to hit. He was the catcher for Team USA last summer, obviously the starting catcher for a Mississippi State team that won a national title last year as well. So he brings leadership qualities to the plate. And I talked before about how this is a multi-year process in evaluating these players. I actually saw Logan play in high school as well. So he's been on the radar for a long time. We're excited about the potential that he has to be a starting catcher for us at some point in time.
Yeah, I heard or I saw Johnny Bitch with a tweet saying that he was excited and he'd been tracking him as well.
It's always good when Johnny's on board.
Right? If Johnny agrees, you're doing something right?
Joe, I did notice Tanner's OPS dropped about 100 points between his sophomore and junior year. Is there anything to make about that? Was there an injury, or was that you just chalked that up to like a fluky season? Or
I think it was a combination of fluky season and a lot of things didn't go the way it was planned at Mississippi State this year. Obviously, like I said, won a national title last year and then really struggled all year this year. I think he got pitched to a little bit differently and really wasn't given the opportunities to succeed because the lineup it wasn't as consistent top to bottom this year as it was in the past. But we didn't have any concerns long-term about that. We're trying to really evaluate the player and the tools, and some of the statistical information is noise. But there's a lot that we do incorporate into our process as well.
Do you think that if he had a better offensive junior year, that he would have gotten picked a lot higher up?
I don't think he would have gotten our pick in the second round. Yeah.
Well played then. So when drafting a catcher, what are the main things that you guys look for? Is it receiving? Is it? I wouldn't necessarily think it's calling a game because that can come from so many different people. But is it defensive, offensive, combination of everything?
It really is a combination of everything, and I think we start with the basic fundamentals of receiving. How good their hands are, how good their agility is, flexibility behind the plate, what sort of arm they have, can it be a weapon to shut down the running game or not? Like you said, evaluating a player's ability to call pitches is basically impossible because those guys aren't allowed to do it at the college level. We did have a couple meetings with Logan, one in the fall and then one at the combine where we were able to pick his brain a little bit, see how he thought about the game and how he would call a game himself. So that gave us a lot of confidence in his ability to do it moving forward. And then on the offensive side, it's the basics. We're looking, like I said, prioritizing hit tools and guys who have power. You can usually develop the power a little bit more, but you have to start with the ability to actually impact the ball.
How much of a difference is, say, college ball at the SEC level to like low A ball? How big of a difference is that?
The SEC is very good baseball, but it's not pro ball. They like to say it's double A. It's not close. Minor league baseball and professional baseball at all levels is every day. It is from February through October. It's a different level of commitment. It's a different level of ability in your own dugout and in the opposing dugout. You can get through a college season with a shorter staff, shorter roster, and still be very competitive at the highest levels. To do that in the minor leagues, you need 1 through 25, and you need to be able to do it every single day because it's a long haul and it's about consistency and being the same guy every day you show up at the park.
Yeah, that depth runs out real quick in college ball and rookie. I mean, in every level that you go up, it's all about the depth. With a pitcher that can project, it's going to go higher. They worry about 2 to 3 hitters in each league, and then it progresses. In Double A, there's like 5 hitters you got to worry about as a pitcher. Triple A, okay, there's probably 6 to 7. Then big leagues, good luck.
Exactly. The 9-hole guy can hurt big leagues now. Got to worry about everyone.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you guys like everybody that you took this year. Is there anybody that, maybe a little bit lower in the draft that was taken that you kind of have, your own eye on, or, you guys have a little bit of chatter about?
Our guys, I mean, everyone loves their draft 2 days after the draft happens, and it takes a long time to actually figure out how good a job we did. But our guys are excited about a lot of the players we were able to pick. Zach Maxwell, college pitcher from Georgia Tech, big body, big arm. He's been up to 100 miles an hour. We've seen him in a starting role, and we've seen him in a relieving role. Truthfully, it's not far off from the profile of Graham Ashcraft when he came out of college. It's not far from Joel Kuhnel when he came out of college. Like, there are big leaguers that are doing things for us right now in Cincinnati that he could compare to. Trey Faltini, the shortstop at Texas that we were able to select. Athletic kid, can play shortstop. Needs to cut down on some of the swing and miss in his game, but he has the tools and he has power. We think we can make some mechanical adjustments that will help him out reaching the ceiling. There are obviously a bunch more, but those were 2 of them that, not way up at the top of the draft, but guys that we're pretty excited about adding.
So take us a little bit behind the curtain to some of the previous drafts. Is there one player that either the Reds really wanted or maybe that you really liked, that you had scouted, that the Reds just missed on that keeps you up at night?
Nothing that keeps me up at night, because I think it's important for all the guys on our staff to understand that this is a collective effort. We're really not trying to assign credit or blame to one person in the process. This is all of us coming together to make the best picks for the organization. One of the ones from early on in my time as an area scout, Mike Minor went with the 7th pick in the country. We had the 8th pick. It was my second year as a scout. I thought there was an opportunity. I was going to go get the first rounder. And obviously he went 1 pick in front of our slot. He was in consideration if he had gotten to 8. Obviously we got Mike Leake. Ended up being a tremendous success for us with him going straight to the big leagues. I don't think Chris Buckley would have done anything different with how that played out. But there are always close calls, and you want to get the guys. But at the end of the day, it's about getting the best players for the whole organization, and that's what helps everyone.
Nice. My last question is, like, after your first draft, without giving away too much information, any of the secrets, what kind of is your philosophy for building a minor league system and future big leaguers? Or is there a specific philosophy?
I really don't think it's too tricky, and I've touched on a bunch of it already. Building from up the middle and going to starting pitching profiles, really weighing things towards hit tools and pitchability, because we think we can develop the power components of the game, if it's velocity or power as a batter. We can develop those a little bit more effectively at the minor league level than some of the other components. So finding guys that are going to work in our minor league system, understanding who we develop the best, and getting those players the best opportunity to hit their potential.
All right. Well, last question for me, Joe. Really appreciate all your time. Obviously, at the big league level, it's been a difficult season. For you personally, what would it mean for you to be a part of turning the tide for the Reds to get back and have some postseason success? What would that mean to you personally in the work that you've done?
That would be tremendous. One of the best days I've had at the ballpark was actually just bringing my family there in 2010 when Jay Bruce hit the walk-off home run. Just a random night that we went as a family, and seeing that, and knowing how long I've been here, the work that's gone in, and the great people that I've worked with. Nick Kroll hired me as an intern in 2005. A lot of the people that are here, Jeff Graupe, Sam Grossman, Rob Coughlin, all those guys went through that internship process as well, and are big parts of putting a winning team on the field. And I know how hard people here are working at it and how much people want to win for the city, for the fans, and for the people that have put in all the time. It would be pretty significant to be a part of putting that next championship team on the field for the Reds. So that's what our guys are all working towards.
Oh, sorry, I lied. One last question. So, who do I need to get in contact with to talk who left me off the 40 man, left me unprotected in 2007?
That's a great question. We usually blame stuff like that on Jeff Graupe, but he wouldn't have been in the position at that point. 2007, we might be going all the way back to. Let's see. We'll blame Wayne Krivsky or Walt Jocketty for that one. So the next time you bump into those guys, you can say something to them.
Perfect. Thank you.
But all joking aside, Wayne gave me my first full-time job in the game, and Walt was a tremendous mentor for this entire organization. So don't go too hard on him.
I won't.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I know this is a busy time of the year for you, and best of success going forward.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. That was Reds amateur scouting director, Joe Katuska. Thanks so much to Joe for taking some time out of his busy schedule to join us. That was a really fun interview. Thanks as well to our pal, Jamie Ramsey, for being so kind and helping us set up this interview. We really appreciate Jamie and all he does for the Reds. We will continue to be monitoring the trade deadline as it approaches. If there are any big deals that involve the Reds, we will try to get an emergency live show up for you ASAP, answer all your burning questions, and break down those moves. If you have not yet subscribed to Late Night Reds Talk on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, what are you doing? Go do that now. Subscribe, smash that like button, give us a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it. That helps us grow the show and continue to provide great content like that for you today. Thanks as also to our sponsor, Bet Online, for their support of Late Night Reds Talk and the Believe Network. For Carlos Guevara, this is Nick Kirby. Thank you for tuning in. Go Reds.